So some classes that clashed with the timing of the forum. So, Aliza, are you happy to record?
That's us all recording just now.
All right, brilliant. Yeah. So, I want to touch base on the code of conduct. Hi, Craig. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. So, I'll quickly touch base on the code of conduct. Let people speak. The platform has a virtual hand. You can raise up. Please make use of that. And when you're not speaking, you can please mute yourself so that to reduce echo in the room. And we have a culture of respect for everyone. So please let us adhere to that. And to the agenda of today. So I'll tell you a little bit about student features. Aliza will also tell you briefly about the FTO's election, then the highlight of the forum, which is telling us about your maybe academic issues that you or your colleagues are facing, and the facilities and technical issues. So, permit me once again to reintroduce to you, especially our new members, names that we just resumed in January, the 3 full-time officers who are here to work in the interest of the students. While we work within different remits, we have a collective goal and around student engagement, sustainability, and many more. So why is student engagement very important to us? Because there are a lot of resources that is made available to students, and they are not, aware of it. So some of these resources might not be available to students after university. So this is why I say a very big thank you to everyone for putting yourself forward to represent the students, and welcome to this forum. So if you're yet to join the Facebook group, I would encourage you join. Also, the SSLC, which is the Student Staff Liaison Committee. If you don't know what date that's coming up, you can always follow up with your program leader to find out what dates that's coming up, so you can have that in your calendar. Also, the school committee AltaSec. If you'll be interested in joining, that is the Learning, Teaching, Assessment, and Student Experience Committee. Do let me know, and I can also put your name forward because there's always an opportunity there. I'm also a member of the AltaSec committee for school. Also, it's always an opportunity to have conversations with the deans of the school and also some senior management to have a better understanding of what they are doing around the school, and you also have a say, to implement a couple of changes, on a management level. So I'm going to just allow Aliza just to come now to talk about the FTO's election.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Every year we have 3 full-time elected officers who are elected into paid positions. The hours per week and the remuneration is up on screen there. And the 3 positions are the President for Societies and Community, the Co-President for Education and Employability, and the Co-President for Sport and Wellbeing. As I say, the nomination period is open at the moment. It's a self-nomination, so if you are interested, please do go on to ENSA's website. There's guidance there as to how to put yourself forward, filling in a few details about yourself and putting in a manifesto and a picture of yourself as well. I've just put the link in the chat there. The closing date for any applications is 12 noon on Wednesday, the 2nd of March. So you still have plenty of time to get a good kind of manifesto in there. And we'll be providing guidance on how you can run your campaigns, and you can do that virtually, in person, or both this year, which is great because last year, obviously, it was all virtually. Obviously, there is quite a few kind of guidelines, but we'll go through those close to the time if you're interested. And if you do have any questions, the final thing to say is please do get in contact with ourselves at ENSA. Don't reach out for once we're going to say this, don't reach out to the student officers at the moment. It has to be done through ENSA for the student elections, because we are the impartial people are going to give you the right guidance. So if you do have any questions, please approach myself or contact ENSA directly, and we will be happy to get in touch with you on that front.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Alice there. So the student features are the arms of the university that support students with employability requirements and resources like career and skills development and placement. So I've been working closely with them. So they are currently organizing the Student Opportunities Week. I've been promoting that on my Facebook page and also on other social platforms with Answer. So you can endeavor to go check them out on my features. They're going to be having employers come in one of those weeks, so you have the opportunity to kind of, have conversations with potential employers. NHS will be there too, likewise, as a couple of governmental organizations, parastatals will also be there. So it would be great if you can also join them. So yeah, that's the business school started this week. So on their website, they have further details on when the School of Applied Science will be having their own event too at the same time. So I just want to just quickly touch base around my blog. So just want to mention that I've uploaded my manifesto tracker. I'm also going to be sharing some of the works that the program reps are actually doing for the students on the blog so that to keep the wider community in Napier aware and informed of how hard you're working and the changes you're making within the university. So I think that's enough of me talking. Okay, now I want to hear from you. So if you have any academic issues you would like to raise, please, you can raise that now. You can just put your hands up. Craig, that's fine. That's fine. I saw you come in and go back here. That's fine. Yeah, so if there's any academic issue you would like to raise, you can put your hand up. So that is Sophie. All right. So Sophie.
Yes, hi. I have a couple. Do you want me to go through them like one and then give someone else a chance, or do you want to just go?
I think you can go through all of them. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the first one is, so I'm doing the master's in wildlife biology and conservation, and we have a lot of work, obviously, because it's a master's. But we've recently had lecturers basically saying in class, like, oh, there's this homework that you can do to like further your knowledge, not making it clear that it was required. It's not graded, but it's required. And then like a couple of weeks later, we got an email. We've had quite a couple of emails with quite I don't know, like infantilizing kind of wording, like your grade will be capped if you do not do this homework. And neither of us want that, even though we haven't been told that it was compulsory. So a lot of people aren't really happy about that. Obviously, we're a master's, we know how to do university well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't exactly ideal. And I'll bring that up at the Board of Studies meeting with the lecturers as well. But there was that, and then also we've only had one assessment this year so far, but the last trimester's assessments, that we actually didn't get feedback for some of those assessments until right before we started this trimester. They were like months late on the feedback. They were months late on the feedback, and I was getting loads of messages about it. So I was emailing the lecturers, and it was, oh, a couple of us are off sick with COVID. Like we personally have our own extenuating circumstances, things like that. But if we have to stick to a deadline and they say you'll have your feedback within 3 weeks, then getting it 2 months later isn't exactly okay. We should at least be told, oh, that it's being marked, but it'll be a while, kind of thing. Otherwise, we're just kind of sat there, especially for a couple of students who'd failed one of the first assessments, and they needed this second assessment back to know whether they could continue on with the course.
Yeah.
And similarly, like with the assessments, we've been given some assessment briefs that are quite vague. There's not a lot of information on what we need to do, and one of the assessments is worth our entire grade for one of the modules. So it needs to be explicit in what they want from us. And normally we have like exemplars. Last trimester we had exemplars of assessments that previous students had done in the past, and we could see how they had been marked.
Okay.
But we haven't been given any this trimester. There might be reasoning behind that, but we've not been told why, if anything. So that's obviously, I can take that forward with the direct staff members of the course. I think that was pretty much all of the, yeah, that was all the academic stuff. It kind of all tied together, but.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sophie, for that comprehensive point. I mean, you mentioned that you are going to take it to the board of the that is SSLC. You know, when is that holding? Do you know?
I have it in my diary. I think it's the start of February, start of March, maybe.
March. Okay.
Oh wait, hold on. The 2nd of March. And that's with the program leader and one other person, and then there's one on the 9th of March with all of the staff on the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's great, Sophie. So it would be great to raise it up there. Okay. So peradventure, if it's not resolved there, you let me know, then I can pick it up with the management to look further into it, because because the first point which you raised around, no clear communication, which I feel that it's not fair, and the expectation around, assessment, not giving a clear expectation, which is not a good, experience. So please raise it up in that meeting. Okay, so peradventure, if it doesn't get solved, just get in touch with me, please. I can take it forward, please.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sophie. I'm going to go to Craig now, and then I'll go to Holly. So, Craig?
Can I just check that my mic's working? Because I don't trust technology at the moment.
Yeah, it's working.
So a lot of the issues.
So, Craig, sorry. You will have to, say your name, your program study, and the year. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I didn't mention that there. Yeah, sorry.
I knew that. I was just testing you. My name's Craig. I'm second year student with adult nursing at Napier. A lot of the issues that I had picked up, which I'm going to bring to the board of studies, were specific to nursing, which I won't bore you with. But there was a few that were overall pertinent to students as a whole. One of which was timetabling. So I don't know if it's relevant to a lot of students across the board, but many students had found that the timetabling wasn't working. Classes were getting either cancelled or rearranged, but they weren't getting told until the very last minute. So that meant they were missing classes, they were missing clinical skills, they were getting reprimanded for it and told off. For example, when I was in clinical skills, there was a girl who told me that their class wasn't changed until like that day, and she was just finished the night shift. So she'd finished the night shift, came to clinical skills, dying on her feet. She's still done it. So that was really the main issue that was overall.
Okay.
And I think it might affect other students within Napier, is that the timetabling wasn't working, and that things were getting changed without any notice.
Thank you very much for that, Craig. I can see Sophie. Yeah, so it's happened to Sophie too. Yeah, Sophie's colleague was the same. We were emailed the class, were cancelled before, and missed the classes. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Okay. Although, yes, what you can do, Craig, okay, you can also still raise this up at SSLC. However, all right, I'm going to get in touch with the school personally, all right, to kind of look into why that had happened. Okay. Yeah, you said you're in adult nursing, yeah? Okay, all right. Yeah. So please raise it at the SSLC. Do you know when that is coming up?
I'm going to go to the board of studies on the 1st of March, and then
First of
there's
March, okay.
yeah, so it's like a whole day event, which is exciting
Ah,
on the 1st of March.
okay, that's a full day for you. Okay, all right, that's fine. So please just raise it up there. Okay, I'll provide you any feedback that you get from there. Probably if it's not maybe a good one, okay, please just get in touch with me. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Greg. I'm going to go to Holly now, and then I'll go to Hazel.
I'm doing a master's in occupational therapy, first year. So generally it's been pretty good, but there were just a few things that our classmates said. I don't know if it's really academic, but you know how everything gets put on Moodle. We'd quite like the stuff to be put on like at least a week in advance, because sometimes stuff gets put on like, the weekend, and a lot of us have jobs at the weekend. So, for example, I would make sure I got all the uni work done by Friday, and then I'd be working all weekend. And then if something's brought up on Monday, things been put on the weekend, I just wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't look at it. So that was the thing that everyone seemed to kind of agree on. People are saying they'd quite like for lectures to be recorded.
Okay.
I don't know if that's been a thing in the past and it stopped, or I don't know, but people seem to think that'd be useful. And then I don't know if this is just us, but we've got assignments like assessments due in April, and just before they're due, we've got a week's holiday. And everyone was saying they kind of prefer the week's holiday to be after the assessments, otherwise it's not going to be a holiday really. So hopefully that can't be changed for this year, but maybe for the future that could be changed, because it's not a holiday.
It is work holiday.
Exactly, yeah, it's a reading week. So it's just observed by everyone. Yeah, I think that's everything.
All right, thank you very much for that, Oli. I can see a comment. Craig says his lectures are recorded and is usually useful for folk that can make it to class. Yeah. So what happened with? Okay, let me talk about the recorded classes first. Okay. So what happens with that is that some lecturers record their classes and some don't. Okay, so there's an ongoing conversation with the university just now to make it a mandatory thing, all right, among lecturers to, record their classes, all right, so that for adventure, maybe you miss a class, you can always go back to it. And even if you're in the classroom and you need to maybe do some revision for your examination, you can still go back to the recorded, material, yeah. So that's an ongoing conversation. And also, it's an ongoing conversation with the facilities department also, because there are some classrooms that are not accessible for recording, if you get what I mean. Yeah, so that's an ongoing conversation too. So I'm going to keep everyone updated around that. Okay. Yeah. So around the need to have materials put on Moodle, a week before. I mean, I totally, agree with that. And if that's not happening, you can firstly raise that at SSLC. Okay. Do you know when that is coming up?
I have no idea. I'm sure I can find out.
Yes. You can always get in touch with the program leader to find out when that's coming up. Okay. Yeah. Also, because I had this conversation with one of the members of staff, I think it's a couple of months or weeks ago, around making sure that there are materials put on Moodle earlier before, but I think they had some reasons and stuff like that. But I'm still, having that conversation with them. So yeah, Aliza, I'm going to allow Aliza to speak now. You said something about the assessment. Yeah, pick it up at the SSLC. All right, and let's see what kind of adjustment they can actually make around that, if that makes sense. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oli.
Sure. As somebody who has to put training up onto Moodle and things like that, usually it's a case of just revealing it at the right time. Most of the modules have been pre-written out, and what will happen is they'll just reveal the stuff as the time goes on. So really, there shouldn't be too much of an issue when it comes to that. It's not like they're writing the modules as you go. They're already pre-written and they just reveal the things. So it's really just a case of making sure it's revealed at the right time for you. That shouldn't be too much of an issue if you raise it at SSLC, I would have imagined.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to go to Hazel now, then I'll go back to Sophie. That's okay.
Hi, I'm Hazel. I'm studying a master's in biomedical science. I've got 3 points, one of which is piggybacking off of the last one about things in advance. I've mentioned it quite a few times that there's a lot of people with disabilities who, as part of their accommodations, are asking for things 24 hours in advance so they can look through it. That's been brought up quite a few times, even on my course, but it feels like lecturers maybe aren't taking it fully seriously, and they'll say, "Oh well, it wasn't ready," but if it's an accessibility requirement, I think that's not really good enough. It'd be
Yeah,
it might
sorry,
be,
Hazel.
yeah.
Yes, sorry. Is it the molded material or sorry, I didn't get the initial thing you said.
Yeah, so a lot of disabled students, as part of their accessibility, they ask for the slides, for example, or if it's not ready, part of it, you can just write an outline of everything that's going to be included or what
Yeah.
you have,
Mhm.
24 hours at least in advance. But
Yeah.
it's so rare to actually receive that, and I get that from other courses as well. I just feel like staff should, in every department, should get a refresher or something because it's just not being met.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
The second one, another accessibility thing, there was construction on Sighthill campus, which I believe was mentioned, but it wasn't quite, people weren't quite told what that would look like. And currently, the bottom floor is inaccessible to nursing students via the lifts, I believe. Which, there are a lot of students who maybe don't look like they have physical disabilities, but need lifts, and that's something that wasn't mentioned across the board. It wasn't in the newsletter or anything,
Mhm.
and it wasn't given by disability and inclusion either.
Mhm.
Something that, probably should have been mentioned, so
Yeah.
accommodations could have been made.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. You said you have 3 points, yeah?
Yeah, one last point.
Yeah, that's fine.
We've got a lot of foreign students who are joining this trimester, and a lot of them have been messaging me directly about apologising for delays with visas and things. I think that should be something done to make sure they know who they can contact. Because if they're all coming to me, that means that they're not being told who they should go to. That's just something that, seems like quite an easy fix.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Um, I'm only 3 hours in advance for slides for accessibility purpose. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you said you've raised this, over and over again, and nothing has been done about it. Okay, so give me the opportunity to go to take it as an action now. Okay, yeah, I'm going to take this forward personally myself. Okay, and I'm looking to it. Then I'll be able to provide a feedback around that. Okay, because I need to understand why that cannot be given in advance, if you get what I mean, and then we can be able to work out, what can be done around it. Yeah, so please, I'm going to take that as a matter of priority, okay, to get it, resolved. Yeah, so just please leave that with me. Around the construction on campus, I'm going to get, so that will be an action for me too, all right? I'm going to get in contact with the facilities department, all right, to understand why they did not, pass the right information and make alternative plans of movement for people. Okay, so moving forward, that should be rectified. So I'm going to have that conversation with the facilities department. So that's my action. And yeah, international students. Yeah, I mean, at Inter, we've done so much to ensure that they actually come into the UK because they had, a huge challenge with the visa from their country. So we had to beg and beg, canvass the university to please give them extension. And I mean, some of them are, quite confused, because some of them have actually done, induction, but because it's a new space, and they miss, a lot. So they feel that first point of contact should be the program representative. Yeah, I mean, they are not wrong anyway, but yeah, I totally understand your point. So what you can do if you just direct them over to maybe the I points. All right, yeah, and if there is any need for probably individual maybe problem or advice, they can always get in touch with the enter advice. We can always schedule an appointment with them and put them through the available support that we have. I hope that's okay, Zel.
Yeah, I mean, I have been redirecting them, so it's not been an issue. It's just I've had about 25 students, so at that point it's probably
Wow.
something that could be done maybe because if they're asking me, they're asking other people,
Okay, all right, well.
Hazel, sorry, I didn't catch your course at the start of there. If I could just grab that.
Masters in Biomedical Science.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Is like I can imagine that's a lot of work for you, like 25 people, coming to you, like, yeah. Sorry about that. But thank you for the work you are doing. Okay. I can see Sophie hand up, yeah?
Yeah, I've got another couple of points that I just kind of remembered. Piggybacking off what Hazel said about the international students. It's been kind of an ongoing issue with my course is that the international students that come from Europe are fine, but ones that come from further afield, mainly East, don't seem to have had the academic background that is preparing them for the level of study that you need to be able to study postgrad in the UK. Like I had someone asking me how I read, like how I went onto middle, took a spreadsheet, looked at that spreadsheet and said it, literally just like reading rows of the spreadsheet. Like they couldn't even do that. And I brought it up at the last SSLC meeting and they said, oh, we're going to try and put more resources out there this trimester. But that doesn't seem to have happened or have been as accessible as it should be. And I think one of the main issues is that they international students seem to be learning purely from textbooks when they're at their universities. And then when they come here and they get asked to read scientific papers or they get asked to use online resources, they just don't know how. So I'm not really sure what can be done to help them because it's obviously quite stressful for them and for me because I'm getting messages at all hours of the day about it, but also that they were messaging me about visas as well and the iPoint and advice. They told me that the final day I can matriculate is tomorrow and I'm still in Pakistan. What do I do? Kind of thing. And there's only so much you can say, and there's a language barrier there as well. So I'm trying to be as tactful as possible without completely dismissing them. So it's not ideal. If I don't know if anyone else has had like, the same issues, but a lot of the international students in particular don't seem to understand what the program rep role is there for. Like I get people asking me to do their homework for them or to do their assessments for them just because they think like I am a tutor, I'm a member of staff, and I'm trying to like say no, like I'm not, I'm a student the same as you. I just relay your concerns to other people. So I don't know if it's make a poster about it. I don't know what can be done, but I just saw Hazel's comment in the chat. Yeah, exactly. They're not able to access resources through Moodle. I'm literally having to take a video of me logging onto my computer, going into Moodle and saying, like, this is how you do it. It seems like they need a lot kind of, I don't know what the word is, like consolidation on the websites and stuff like that we use.
Thank you very much for that, Sophie. Sophie, with the support for international students, all right, it's something I can raise up with the senior staffs of the university. Most importantly, the directors of student recruitment for international operation. because they were the guys we actually reached out to when they were having, issues with visa delay and everything. Around the resources, I've kind of seen a lapse, around how international support sends information to them, kind of, communication that's being sent to them. So maybe the communication is not, clear enough or is not well written, so it's something we can actually look into, so I'm happy to take this on as an action, okay, yeah, with the school management. And around the resources to assist them, I think I'm just don't take my word for it. I'm just saying this like a suggestion or a proposal I'm going to give to the university is allowing them to try to come early enough and take some maybe pre-courses to make them have a better understanding, because it's a transition from wherever they're coming from to the UK system, which might kind of be strange to them, so it's kind of maybe having that maybe courses, like one or two few models to be able to explain to them some basic, things on, transitioning from where they're coming from to the UK, institutes. And on the model, I found out this, I think, a couple of weeks ago when an international student came to me to ask me about how to access the model, and I had to speak to the IT department, and they said they have available resources on the module to be able to teach new students on how to navigate the library services, the IT services. So I think students are not kind of seeing that information, if you get what I mean, so if they tend to go through the direction of, reading their emails, then maybe those bullet points can be put there and they can probably click on the link and just go to the model and see, So it's something I'm going to pick up, with the university itself, all right, to look into it and see how we can have a better communication to the international students.
I think one of the main issues is that we have September starters and we have January starters.
Yeah.
And so if the September starters join and they get a kind of gentle introduction into things, or a more gentle introduction than the January starters do, then that's kind of an issue. But I know that after last trimester, there were international students who were wanting to drop out because they couldn't even just navigate to where they needed to be to do the work.
I get that. Yeah. And regarding the role of a program rep, I think it's something at ENSA we can actually do, all right, to see how we can make that information much more visible to students even before they arrive. All right, we've had that conversation a couple of weeks ago, yes, you're right. Some people don't understand the role of the program rep, and that's probably because of maybe the college or the institution they are coming from, which probably don't have the rep system, or probably they have a rep system, but in a different format, if you get what I mean, yeah, so it's something we can actually look into, at ENSA to address that. Because I feel like we can actually influence the comms departments, all right, to include that in the newsletter that is being sent out to students before they arrive. Okay. Aliza, I saw you raise your hand up. Okay. Let me allow Azel to talk first, but I saw something on the chat from Hugh. As someone who works with international students on a daily basis, clear communication regarding points of contact. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for that, Hugh. Yeah, you're right. Azel?
Just to piggyback off that, I have had requests of, you can book support sessions, but particularly around the master's courses where it seems like there is actually a majority of students who are international, I think there really should be a class at the beginning of each trimester specifically to induct and tell people these are the people you contact, because PDTs haven't been assigned yet. You can't even signpost to PDTs, just be like, get in contact with the program leader, because I think a lot of them do struggle with email. I think it's quite easy for us to say that we can email across and get the information, but again, that is electronically. Anything electronically there seems to be a barrier there that they're not able to access. Just having like one class, maybe 2 hours explaining, I think would be invaluable.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Azel. Because that means that we kind of Yes, I'm going to raise this with the university. I just want to just mention a couple of things we can actually look into is around the induction week. What kind of information is being shared with them, and how well do they take those information. Yeah, so is it something we can I can pick up with the university? Okay, Aliza, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in to say that it's a really good point, and actually something that's been on our radar for a while. The other thing from ENT's advice point of view is we do see a significantly increased number of plagiarism cases from students who have come internationally, and like you say, it's that textbook learning where it's potentially okay to copy large chunks of texts or that's maybe what they've been used to, and that all comes back to orientation and basically making sure that people have a proper orientation when they come and start a course, and basically that can't really be done with a Moodle if they don't know how to use Moodle. So there is some start points, who are your key contacts, who your tutor is going to be, things like that, where you actually have to sit down with somebody, and that's all just part of your induction basically, so that it's in, and there is more that needs to be done than on that front. There seems to be a lot of recruitment done internationally, but then when people arrive, it's like, what follow-up support is there once you're actually here? And I think that's what you're all kind of saying is lacking, and it's certainly something that we at ENSA have seen a lot of as well, from kind of academic appeals and the like. So you can echo it from ENSA side as well.
All right, thank you very much for that, Aliza. Hugh, I can see your hand up.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to say I work in academic support for international students at a different university, and
Okay.
it's a constant issue. It's like it's essentially it's a whole suite of literacies that, like, I don't know if we think back to when we started all this online stuff. Perhaps you initially found it quite daunting as well, and then you've kind of learned how to navigate the middle. And then these guys, I think, I can't remember who it was, somebody made the comment that, perhaps they're coming in from a bachelor's degree where they have done everything on paper from books.
Yeah.
And then they're coming overseas and basically being told to do everything online. There's a whole suite of literacies. I've got to say, I'm quite surprised that they're not getting more support. I think that's actually really quite surprising. And I do think that the DLT with the academic skills advisors could probably do a better job then.
All right, thank you very much for that. I mean, I've noted all those points down. Sorry, I'm just looking down. I'm taking notes. Okay, yeah, so I'm taking note of all those points. Those are part of the things I'm going to use as a proposal, when I'm speaking to the university around potential solutions and ways forward for the international students. Is there anything anyone wants to say about the academic issues? No, okay, so let's go to the next one, which is facilities and tech issues. Yeah, I've seen your hand, Sophie.
Yes, this is where I hit my ranting. So I don't know if you remember at the last program meeting last trimester, we were having some serious audio issues. So we have a lot of distance learners on our course, the Wildlife Biology and Conservation Masters. And basically the microphones that are stationed on the desks don't pick up well enough when the lecturers walk around the room or walk to the smartboard kind of thing. So one of our lecturers now wears a clip-on mic, but the room that we're in for the other lecture, 2D08, I think, there doesn't seem to be a clip-on mic that the lecturer can use, and so while you can just hear the lecturer with headphones in like a quiet environment on the recordings, you get so much feedback and rustling of people moving in their chairs and things like that, and there's often like bits of the recording that just aren't there. And for those who are at the lectures, that's fine because we were there, but for the distance learners who make up like a good third or half of the course, they're not getting the information that they're paying for. So that's been one of the big issues, especially because one of our our modules, the lecturer does a lot of discussions and says, oh guys, what do you think about this? Like, can anyone think of any examples of this? And because we are speaking and we don't have the microphones on, the distance learners can't hear what is being said. So even if I go back and listen to the recordings, I can hear my lecturer saying, "What do you think of this?" And I know that I've answered the question in class, but I can't hear what I've said. So distance learners are sat there for like 5 minutes just listening to silence, which is not ideal. I'm not really sure how we can combat this. Like we did a lot last trimester to work around it, but it's still quite a big issue for the distance learners and for those who aren't able to get onto campus.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me start from last trimester. Okay, it was the same issue. So what was done about it?
So the lecturer moved around the room. So when he asked a question, he'd move around the room, or if he didn't do that, he'd repeat and he'd say, "Okay, so the point there was," and then basically repeat what is being said, which is then not ideal for those sitting in the class, because then the lecture takes twice as long because he's repeating every single thing. So that was one of the things there, which wasn't working really. And by the time you get to someone to be close enough for them to pick up on the mic, you're not social distancing or anything like that. So it's kind of a losing battle. And we're consistently trying new things, but we're still getting people saying, "I can't hear this, I can't hear that."
Okay. Sophie, I'm going to raise this with the facilities department. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure maybe they're aware of that. I think probably the lecturer is just trying to manage the equipment that is easily available to to them. So is this happening in the same classroom?
It's wherever we go, whichever classroom. So even if the clip-on mic is there, it's still not good enough, especially because we've got all the windows open for COVID. The wind comes in quite a bit, and so that also doesn't help. Which is another point that I was going to raise.
Okay, great. Leave that with me as an action, please. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take it forward with the facilities department. Aliza, you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I just chime in occasionally when I have a good idea. So basically, there are these cubes. You may have seen them in some of the lecture rooms that you can. They're padded cubes, and they essentially have a mic inside them, and you can pass them around. And you press the button on the cube, and it basically it acts as a mic. I've certainly seen them in some of the hybrid lecture rooms. I'm not sure if they're standard for all lecture rooms or not, but certainly that would be a definite workaround that'd work well. So if you have something to say, you just basically got past this thing. It's like a cushion. You push it and then you talk into it, and it works as a mic, and I think it overrides the other mic for a certain amount of time maybe. But it certainly does work if people have points. It's quite good. That sounds like it would probably be a good workaround. But if Matthew, if you're raising that with facilities, that's maybe a suggestion to get those into more rooms if they're going to be doing things like that. Probably sound a bit strange trying to describe that, but people who've seen them know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying in the chat. Yeah, I'm going to raise that with the facilities department, and we're going to see, what can be done around that. I'm happy to also go to the field, to the classroom, and, work out how that can be, sorted. Yeah, another point around that, Sophie?
Yeah, so the next three kind of tie in. So the main bit is the temperature of the classrooms and the labs. I know that it's winter and it's Scotland, so we can't change the outside temperature, but our lecturers are kind of taking the pee a bit when it comes to ventilation. Like we'll have a classroom like the size of 2 bedrooms combined, tiny classroom, and there'll be like 8 windows open. I'm literally holding my paper to the desk to write on it because it's the wind's coming through. And my cohort are sat there with the gloves and their hats and their scarves on, like unable to concentrate because it's so cold. And I was getting messages after messages about this. And we had a lab on Friday, a 6-hour long lab with an hour break for lunch after 3 hours. And people were wearing knee-length puffer jackets under their lab coats. They were having to leave because they were so cold that they couldn't do the work. And in a lab, there should be ventilation systems anyway, but there's no form of heating on And, you know, if you're sat in the same spot on uncomfortable lab chairs for 3 hours, it's bad for anyone's back, never mind if you're sat hunched over shivering the whole time. And with the gloves on that we have to wear in the labs, there isn't space for normal gloves underneath those. And people were saying that they were like the Michelin Man, the big marshmallow, like with so many layers on under this lab coat, and they just couldn't move because they were so wrapped up. So it's not ideal. Yeah, paper isn't flying as such, but it's going everywhere. Yeah. And the kind of length of the lab as well, 3 hours and then an hour break, wasn't ideal. It's quite a long time to concentrate in that temperature because it was like -1 outside when it was happening. And when we have lectures as well that are like 2 hours without a break, people are fading, their concentration's going, especially in the cold. So I emailed all of the staff that were in charge of the lab and the program leader about this, and they basically said, we understand, but we can't close any windows because of COVID, so we will give you more breaks to go and get hot chocolate. And that was where it got left. It was a very long email basically saying, suck it up and bring hot drinks. But you can't take drinks into the lab. So unless they're giving us breaks long enough for us to go get a drink it, and then come back into the lab, I don't know what we can do, but it just seems a bit excessive having like double digits of windows open in a lab if we've all got masks on and visors in between each person.
Okay. Can I ask, in the lab, okay, I mean, you say it's small, yeah? So like, what are the numbers of students who goes into the lab, you know, at a time?
About 30, I think. Maybe
30?
slightly less. Definitely, oh, hold on, definitely less. If we have 2 to a desk, yeah, 20 to 25 now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Do you think if it's possible to split the numbers of people who come to the lab would maybe make sense?
It would, but the lab requires quite a lot of staff members, and we have ID tests on what we learn in the lab. So they're trying to cram as much into 6 hours as possible. So we had one last week, we've got one tomorrow, which I don't know how we're going to do if it's snowing outside. And then we've got one like for the next couple of weeks as well, and it's just cramming as much in as possible. So if they split it by students, then you would have to make it on more days, which is not ideal if we have students commuting 3 hours to get to class, you know.
Okay. I see that. I just wanted to just say maybe that could be an option. Okay. I can raise this with the facilities department, and like Alice mentioned on the chat there, with the health and safety team also. Okay, to look into what can be done. Hazel, you want to say something? I can't hear you, Hazel. Can anybody hear? No. Oh, what's happening? You are on mute, but yeah, we're not hearing anything.
I think it's a problem with the mic at your end, actually.
Let me see. Will you go to the? Okay, that's fine now. Yeah.
Sorry, I think it switched to the wrong mic there. Just to add to this point, I'm in a class of 160 students. We are already splitting it across 4 different lab sessions, but that's still like massive numbers. So just because you were talking about trying to split it up, we're already splitting it up. So it's not really an option, unfortunately.
Okay. No, it's fine. So I mean, that's why I asked the question, you know, because I'm not a specialist in this area, you know, and that's why it's what, you know, wanted to understand if that could be an option. But yeah, I see that's not going to be an option. But yeah, I can have a conversation with the facilities department, including the health and safety, you know, department, and I can be able to feed you back, you know, on what, you know, is being said. I can also probably, if possible, arrange a meeting with you guys too, you know, in the room, because I mean, you guys are the one on the floor there, you know, experiencing these things. So it's always good to kind of hear from the horse's mouth, you know. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's fine. I can raise that up as an action.
Do you know if there's a limit? Like, that with the new kind of COVID guidelines that Napier have set, is there you must have one classroom, one window open per classroom, or is it every window that can be opened has to be open? I don't know.
To be frank with you, Sophie, I've not seen that communication yet,
Okay.
but it's worth checking, yeah, to understand that. Yeah, but I'm sure when we talk to the facilities department, they'll be able to give us a clearer picture on what the university rules and guideline is on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's what's investigating. Yeah. So Sophie, what's the third point?
It was about the chairs in the classrooms. I also brought it up last trimester.
Yeah.
At the meeting. So we have these, like the chairs that you sit in, and then you fold out the table. In the uni's defense, I have noticed that some of the classrooms, the tables are now maybe an inch or two bigger than they were. But I still have to, like, I've got a small laptop and I still have to put my knee under the table to make it take the weight of the laptop. And you're sitting kind of, the chairs are really uncomfortable, especially when you're sitting in like a 3-hour long lecture. So you can't sit at good posture to take notes. You have to kind of slump and then lean to the side, which is not at all comfortable. And I've had so many people complain when I sent out a survey like to collate information for this. I said anything about the facilities, and every single person replied saying the chairs. There is, I know 7B37 has tables. So the big long classrooms with the mics all the way down, I know that those ones have tables. But for some reason, I know that we have, like, our classes are not small numbers, but maybe like 20 to 30 people. So they're not big enough to fill the whole room, but it's a bit ridiculous that we're having to sit, 15, 20 hours a week in these tables that we just can't use basically. And they're so difficult to write on as well. And I've seen left-handed people having to pull out the table from the seat beside them and lean over that way to do it, because they'd be sitting basically at 90 degrees to the chair if they needed to use it.
Yeah. I think you will raise the issue around the left hand last time. Good. I'm happy to give you what is happening around that. So I had a conversation with the facilities department. Okay, so with the head of facilities anyway. So she mentioned that the university used to have a proportion of left hand table and right hand table. Okay, but because she is new, so she's going to work that proportion, and investigate. But I'm happy to go back to her to, get feedback on what is happening around that. Okay, and around, you say you have a survey, around what the students are actually saying. I think it's going to be a very good one to also to have that conversation with her again. Okay, to see what can be done, around those tables and chairs. Okay, so please leave that with me while I just take that forward with the facilities department. But are you okay? I come back to you to ask for that survey, if that's okay. Okay, great. I mean, it's just to evidence that it is actually affecting a number of students, not just one person here. All right, that's fine. Thank you very much for that, Sophie. Any other point you want to raise, please?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Anybody else around the facilities and tech issues? Okay, Izo.
I was like trying to remember. I was sure I remember something. The Napier app. This is an issue that I've personally had issues with. They tell you to sign in so you get notifications for check-in, but it signs me out every time I close the app. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure it's something that's affecting more than just me.
Okay.
It does make check-in difficult having to sign in every time,
So when you go to the Napier app, you have to sign in every time to check in, right? Okay.
Because it's actually easier for me to do it online, but then that's kind of negates the point of the app, because when you sign into the app, it takes a while to load everything up.
Yeah.
It can take up 15 minutes every time, so it's just easier to go online. But again, that's not ideal.
Okay, so it works well on the computer, but doesn't work well on the mobile app. And the essence of the mobile app is actually for flexibility and simple journey. Okay, works well on computer. Okay, I can reach that with the IT department. Okay, to look into that. Yes, I'm going to raise that up with the IT department, but not on the mobile. I can see did Sophie just give a comment here? Okay, okay. You also don't get a notification to check into class until you go onto the app. Yeah, okay. No notification. So I'm just kind of putting the points down. Sorry. I remember on the app. Okay, all right. Craig. Okay, so Craig is giving a suggestion if you have uninstalled it and installed it again. Okay, okay, okay. Didn't fix it. All right, that's no worries, Azel. Thank you so much for sharing that, Craig. Yeah, I mean, when I was a student, I also did that too, yeah, yeah. But I mean, if this is consistency, consistent, so it's worth raising up with the IT department. So please leave that with me as an action. I'm going to take it forward, okay, with the facilities department. Is there anything else you want to raise? No. Anybody else?
I was going to say, just with regards to that one, if you raise it with the IS department and they come back, they might say it's down to personal settings. But if that is a case of it being something to do with personal settings for multiple students, it's still an issue. So they can send out a communication on that front about what settings it is that need to be checked or done properly. And also, IS should always be on hand if students are having individual issues as well.
All right, thank you so much for that input, Alice there. So, Bonaventure, if you have any cases or issues around maybe sports societies, or communities, around the university, you can always get in touch with my colleagues, or anything academics and employability, you can always, get in touch with me. So this is where I say thank you to you once again for volunteering to be student rep this year. And please do not hesitate to get in touch with me at any point in time. All right, I try as much as possible to reply to my email as soon as I can. All right, but most importantly, the one from students, I could probably wait till some couple of hours before I reply starts one. But for students, yeah, I tend to kind of reply to that as soon as possible. So please, do not hesitate to get in touch with me at any time. If there's any issues you want to raise immediately, you can always let me know, and I can always probably signpost or take it forward as an action. So thank you so much for your time this evening, and do have a wonderful evening.
Thank
All right,
you.
bye. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
You're welcome, Michael.